These tags mean nothing. Plenty of heroes in this game are labeled in ways that fit the most basic sense of the word. Deathwing is a bruiser in that he's big and chunky and can get into a scrap, but this is surface level thinking for sheep. Look at his abilities and think for yourself. What sort of bruiser has big, ranged, incredibly telegraphed AoE spells? He plays a hell of a lot more like a mage than anything else, but you can't call him a ranged assassin either. All of his abilities have very low upfront damage, and there's no fuck it category. The only way to get decent damage numbers out of Deathwing is to combo with lockdown heavy heroes or play against people who need 2 weeks notice, air horns, and a push to get out of the fire. This hero can do a lot for his team despite how little he cares for them. He can hold a lane, he can global around the map and soak up experience, he can fill a frontline slot for a time by eating up damage and blocking skill shots. But please note the difference between can and should. When it comes to generalist heroes, Deathwing is better than nothing. He's a big target and slower than your average quick player. There are better options that will give you a more tangible edge in other areas of the match, like Thrall, who's a much more effective brawler and can take camps. So why even bother with the dragon? Honestly, a new player might want to avoid this hero, but if he's your most favoritist character ever and you must play him, know that you are picking a hero that's hyper-specialized at attacking one specific enemy, an enemy that Deathwing has been at war with since his corruption. The ground. Deathwing has insane area denial. Nobody wants to stand in your spells, and without any help it's almost a guarantee that you won't hit anything. While this sounds like a weakness, what it actually means is you control where people move. Oh look, every direction is wrong. Your job as Deathwing is to make your enemies as predictable as you are. Using your spells to corral enemies won't get you shiny numbers on the end screen, but we all know there's only one number that really matters. Now, onto his kit. Firstly, and most importantly, we have to talk about his trait. Aspect of Death is what separates Deathwing from every other hero in the game. This trait divides Deathwing's health bar into quarters, with each chunk granting the dragon 10 armor. Losing all the hit points in an individual section will also lose the 10 armor this piece provides. The only way to regain this protection is to heal past the HP threshold and fly up into the sky. You'll have the armor back once you land. This makes Deathwing very top heavy. The more health you have, the more damage you can take. The trick is knowing when to make yourself a target, eating cooldowns with your massive armor that would be better spent on other heroes. Aspect of Death also doubles Deathwing's spell damage to heroes and prevents the effects of any sort of supportive magic one might use on the big boy. And finally, it grants Deathwing permanent unstoppability. I want to talk about how this relates to the graph specifically. Please hear me out before you DM me. Despite being a slow-ass bitch, Deathwing actually has 3 mobility abilities. I believe the average is between 1 and 2. He's got his ultimate, global, and his scoot. But above all this, he's unstoppable. Unless you body block him or have a wall, Deathwing will always move at his maximum speed. That counts as mobility. Unhindered movement is incredibly powerful. Where other heroes are slowed or rooted or whatever, Deathwing keeps going, and while it might not be fast, it won't be any slower. Just keep in mind how fat you are and get out of the passing lane. What abilities you can use on this hero depends on which form you're in. Destroyer form. Incinerate is a low cooldown, low energy, low damage AoE burst that covers a large area. A circular fwoof around Deathwing that's great for when you're in the middle of the enemy team. Compared to his other spells, it comes out quickly and can be easily weaved between the dragon's auto attacks. Onslaught is a little scoot I mentioned earlier. Pressing E in Destroyer form will make Deathwing jump in the chosen direction after a short delay and slows enemies caught underfoot. Anything hit at the edge of the jump will also take bonus damage, which is great for surprising people who aren't expecting Deathwing to chase them. These 2 abilities are replaced when in Worldbreaker form. Incinerate becomes Lava Burst, a low energy ranged AoE slow that lasts as long as its cooldown. While it won't do crazy damage, it's great at disrupting engagements or covering the flanks of a fight. Put it in places enemies want to be and watch them not. Earth Shatter is a skill shot stun that fires off in 2 slightly skewed lines in the aimed direction. The stun travels slowly down the length of the skill shot and stuns anyone hit for 0.75 seconds. Like all of Deathwing's abilities, the power of this spell is in how predictable it is. And while it fires off 2 stuns, there is an area of safety between the skill shots. Now, I don't know why, and maybe it's just me, but for some reason people seem to want to be hit by this spell, like they're magnetically drawn into the stun. Maybe the timing is weird, maybe the slight skew to the lines throws people off, maybe people just panic, I don't know, just try it, you'll see what I mean. No matter which form you're in, Deathwing always has access to Molten Flame. This ability is one of, if not the highest damage per second ability in the game, the trade-off being its insane startup time and energy cost. 1.5 seconds of wind-up, and 30 energy per second while blasting. It also renders Deathwing completely vulnerable while channeling, so if your opponent dodges the spell, and they will, you must cancel it early to avoid being punished. Molten Flame combos extremely well with heroes that can lock down or otherwise prevent enemy movement, and if your opponents are running for their lives, you can make their routes of retreat incredibly inconvenient. Unlike most other heroes, Deathwing gets his ultimate from the beginning of the game, though it starts on a 4.5 minute cooldown. Cataclysm covers a massive area, scorching the earth beneath Deathwing's wings. Great for surprising the enemy team by cutting off their retreat or diving onto a point. You can also use it to skedaddle if things get too hot. Don't be afraid to use it if you need it. A 90-second cooldown is a small price to pay for not dying. Speaking of staying alive, besides health globes and healing wells, Deathwing's global ability is the only non-talented way of healing himself, flying up into the sky and gaining 2.5% of his total health per second. While Dragonflight cannot be stopped once the ability is activated, you can keep Deathwing grounded by poking him before he has the chance to take flight. He also can't fly away until 4 seconds have passed after using an ability, so don't think you can dump spells and dip. Deathwing is a unique hero that complements his team in an unconventional way, protecting them by controlling the flow of fights with slow, deliberate spells that cover large areas, making it difficult for the enemy team to engage. His ability to control space lets him drag out the fights, and Molten Flame is a fantastic follow-up in teams with lots of crowd control. While he can hold his own in a lane and clear waves as needed, the low PvE damage of his spells and the cooldowns on his global prevent him from being as effective in this role as other heroes. If you're new, I would actually recommend staying away from this character until you're used to how people move and dodge, because these numbers won't go up until you know precisely how to punish positioning. Or just have your friends hold people down while you melt them, whatever. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a tip or becoming a channel member. All my videos are up ad-free on Patreon as well. $1 a month will save you from YouTube's bullshit. Every little bit helps, and it's really appreciated. As for upcoming videos, it's the holidays and things get really busy. It shouldn't be too much of a disruption, but who can say this time of year? Merry Christmas.